On a leaf in an ordinary garden, something is about to disappear. It is smaller than a grain of rice, round-shouldered, patient, almost dull to look at. It has been sitting in the same spot for minutes, doing nothing at all. And then, in the time it takes for you to blink, it is simply gone. Not crawled away, not flown, launched. In roughly 0.02 of a second, this tiny creature threw itself into the air with an acceleration close to 400 times the pull of gravity. A force like that, applied to a human body, would tear it apart before it ever left the ground. But raw speed is not the mystery here. The mystery is the straight line. To jump like this, the insect has to push off with both of its back legs at exactly the same instant. Not almost the same instant, exactly. If one leg fires even a fraction before the other, the tiny body will twist as it leaves the surface and spiral out of control, tumbling off sideways instead of flying forward. And the margin it has to get this right is almost unimaginably thin. Its two legs must begin moving within about 30 millionths of a second of each other, every single time. Here is the problem. Nothing in this animal's nervous system is fast enough to do that. A nerve impulse, a single command traveling from nerve to muscle, takes around 1,000th of a second just to fire. The coordination we are talking about is more than 30 times faster than that. It is as though the two legs had to agree on their timing before the brain could even finish giving the order. So how does a creature this small solve a problem its own mind is far too slow to solve? The answer was hiding underneath its body.
And when scientists finally understood what they were looking at, it forced them to rewrite the story of one of humanity's proudest inventions. To understand the trick, you first have to understand why that straight line matters so much. This is a planthopper, a small sap-feeding insect found in gardens across Europe and North Africa, living quietly among ivy and low leaves, drinking from the veins of plants. As an adult, it can barely fly. Jumping is not a party trick for this animal. It is how it escapes, how it survives, how it moves through the world at all. A clumsy jump is a death sentence. A predator lunges, the planthopper leaps, and if it spins off sideways, it lands somewhere it never chose to go, exposed and disoriented, with a hunter already turning to follow. Most jumping insects avoid this trap by design. Think of a grasshopper. Its powerful hind legs swing out from the sides of its body in separate planes, like a pair of oars pulling through water. But the planthopper is built differently. Its legs are tucked directly underneath it, sweeping through almost the very same horizontal plane, right next to each other. Two enormous forces released along nearly the same line, a hair apart. And that is where the danger lives. When two thrusts fire that close together, the slightest mismatch does not just weaken the jump, it twists the whole body. Push a little harder or a little sooner on one side, and the insect yaws, rotating away from its intended path, spinning helplessly through the air. Evolution, in other words, handed this creature a beautifully powerful engine, bolted to an almost impossible control problem. Two pistons that must fire as one, faster than any nerve can manage. For years, that was where the story stopped. Scientists could watch the jump.
They could measure the speed, but how the timing was actually achieved remained a genuine mystery. The breakthrough came from two researchers at the University of Cambridge, Malcolm Burrows and Gregory Sutton, who had spent years studying the mechanics of jumping insects, from fleas to locusts to the smallest hoppers in the hedgerow. They began with light. Using a high-speed camera that captured 5,000 images every second, they filmed young planthoppers taking off, then slowed the footage down until each launch stretched across a small eternity. Frame by frame, they measured the legs, and again, the same astonishing number came back. The two hind legs started to move within 30 microseconds of each other, 30 millionths of a second. A synchronization so tight, it simply could not be coming from the nervous system. Something else had to be enforcing it, something mechanical. So they turned from light to the electron microscope and aimed it at the place where the hind legs meet the body, a small segment called the trochanter. And there, on the inner surface of each leg, they found something no one had expected to see on a living creature: teeth. Not the teeth of a mouth, a curved strip of small, evenly spaced cogs running along the edge of each leg, and the strip on the left leg meshed perfectly with the strip on the right, interlocking, tooth against tooth, exactly like two gears inside a machine.
This tiny insect had gears, real functional intermeshing gears, grown into its own body. The closer they looked, the more the resemblance to engineering became almost uncomfortable. Each strip carried between 10 and 12 teeth, and the two legs always had the same count, a 1-to-1 gear ratio, the simplest and most precise relationship two gears can have. At the base of every tooth sat a small, rounded curve, a fillet. In machines built by human hands, that exact curve is added on purpose to spread out stress and stop the teeth from shearing off under load. And here it was, grown from insect cuticle, doing precisely the same job for precisely the same reason. But there was one difference from our machines, and it turned out to be the most revealing detail of all. The teeth were not symmetrical. Each one leaned to a single side, shaped a little like a shark's fin. A gear in a car can turn in either direction. This one could not. Its lopsided teeth meant it was built to transmit power one way only, in the exact direction of the jump, and never to slip backwards. Now the whole mechanism snapped into focus. When the planthopper prepares to launch, it cocks both hind legs and locks the two rows of teeth together. When the muscles fire, one leg will always inevitably begin to move a fraction before the other, but it cannot pull ahead. The instant it starts to turn, its teeth catch the teeth of its partner and drag the second leg along with it, forcing both to rotate in perfect lockstep. The synchronization is not calculated by the brain at all. It is enforced by the skeleton, mechanically, in the moment it is needed. To prove it, the researchers performed a simple and slightly macabre test. They took planthoppers that had already died, gently cocked their legs into the jumping position, and delivered a tiny electrical pulse to the muscle of a single leg, only one.
And yet, because the gears held both legs together, the other leg moved too, and the dead insect jumped forward, straight and true. The gears were doing the work that no nerve could do in time. In this animal, the skeleton itself had become the solution to a problem the nervous system could never solve. Now step back and consider what that actually means. We tend to tell ourselves a particular story about the gear. We credit it to the engineers of the ancient world, to the Greek mechanics of Alexandria more than 2,000 years ago. The oldest gear machine we have ever found, the astonishing Antikythera mechanism, was pulled from a shipwreck with dozens of bronze cogs nested inside, and we marveled that human hands could build something so precise so long ago. The gear sits near the very foundation of technology. Windmills, clocks, engines, bicycles, the machine that may have carried you today, all of them turn on this one idea. And all of them were late. Millions of years before the first Greek engineer filed the first bronze tooth, this problem had already been solved, quietly on the underside of a garden insect, by evolution. And here is the most humbling part. The gears had been sitting right in front of us the entire time. Preserved specimens carried them in museum drawers. They had been noticed in passing for decades. We simply never understood what they were for. Generations of eyes looked at a working gear on the body of an animal, and our minds refused to see it because we were so certain that gears were something only we made. But the story has one final turn, and it is the strangest of all. These gears do not last. They are found only in the young, in the juvenile nymphs, the growing stage before adulthood.
Every time a nymph molts, shedding its old shell to grow a little larger, it grows a fresh set of gears along with it, crisp and undamaged. But at the final molt, when the planthopper becomes an adult, the gears vanish. The adult jumps using a different, cruder method, simple friction pads on the legs that shove against one another, less elegant, less precise, a downgrade by any obvious measure. So why would evolution abandon a perfect solution? The most likely answer leads straight back to that one-way shark fin tooth and to a simple, unforgiving truth about machines. A gear is only ever as good as its teeth. Chip one, and the whole mechanism falters. For a growing nymph, a broken tooth is no disaster at all. At its next molt, it simply builds a brand new gear from scratch. But an adult insect never molts again. Whatever it has when it reaches adulthood, it keeps for the rest of its life. And a single damaged tooth, with no way ever to repair it, would mean spinning uncontrollably on every jump for as long as that animal lived. So the gear turns out to be a technology with a hidden condition attached. It is brilliant, but only while you can still rebuild it.
The moment the planthopper stops growing, the moment repair becomes impossible, evolution quietly retires the gear and settles for something that cannot fail in the same catastrophic way. The insect trades precision for durability. It gives up the elegant machine in exchange for the one that will never leave it started. And that is a trade-off any engineer alive would recognize in an instant. We like to think of insects as simple, small, mechanical, almost beneath our notice. And that word mechanical turns out to be far more literal than we ever imagined.
Because what this creature really reveals is not about jumping at all. It is about a problem that biology and engineering keep running into again and again. How do you make two things move as one faster than any controller can possibly react? Our instinct is always to reach for more sensors, more processing, more speed. The planthopper's answer was the opposite. It took the problem away from the brain entirely and handed it to the body. It let the shape of the skeleton do what no nerve could ever do in time. And engineers have noticed. Today, researchers study these microscopic gears for exactly that reason, searching them for lessons on how to build machines almost too small and too fast for any circuit to control. So the next time something vanishes from a leaf before your eyes can even focus, remember what just happened in that blink. A creature smaller than a grain of rice locked a set of gears, fired two legs in perfect union 30 millionths of a second apart, and launched itself into the air along a flawless straight line, using an invention we were so certain was ours that we could not even see it sitting in the palm of nature's hand. It was never ours to invent. We were simply the last to notice.